Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Who are the best running back values? We're going to update the video that we did earlier this summer. It is now July, so these are my top 5 valued running backs at ADP, right? Like, doesn't mean that I think they're going to perform the best overall. These are not my top 5 running backs overall, but based on their ADP and what they can return to you during the season, this is my top 5 in July. And I'll revisit this in the middle of August as we get much closer to the season. There's going to be some injuries that happen. There's going to be some teams that are going to pick players up and roles that are going to change, and ADPs are going to fluctuate as well. So I'll update this one again in the middle of August. But anyway, thank you guys for being here, and I appreciate you guys watching every single video. I appreciate the replies, the shares, every like on the video. The subscribers on the channel, you guys have been extremely kind, and obviously ring that notifications bell, because I'm going to come out with a ton of content, not just before the season starts, but during the season on this fantasy football channel as well. This is where the recap video is going to live instead of on the Al Smizzle Games channel. So thank you guys for being here and for all the support in helping me launch this new separate channel from my main DFS channel at Al Zeidenfeld. So appreciate you guys, and let's go.
Legend.
The number 1 spot to play best ball continues to be underdogfantasy.com. Go check out their best ball mania. They've launched the Puppy 2. They had the Puppy, which is the $5 game. Then they had the Puppy but Superflex. And now they're on to the Puppy 2, 111,000 plus entrants in that one. It's over half full. They're probably going to have 4 or 5 puppies by the time the season ends. So don't fret if this one fills. And obviously, if you want to get on the big dog, the $25 entry, $10 million in prizes, $2 million to first, $1 million to second, and another $1 million goes to the highest scoring team throughout the regular season. Best ball is where it's at least for somebody like me who likes to draft a ton. The draft is the best part of the fantasy football season, and I don't have to deal with all those pesky waivers and trades and transactions. The system will set your best lineup as the season goes along every single week. It's a total points game. Use that promo code ALSMIZZLE, all one word, ALSMIZZLE, and get a deposit match up to $100 on your first deposit on the site. So why not take advantage and get the most value that you can out of your first deposit over on Underdog Fantasy. James Conner is my top value player for this video. Right now, his ADP on Underdog is the running back 15, also the running back 15 on DraftKings. Similar ADPs as well, 32-ish, right? They're off by like a couple of decimals. So you're getting this player in the middle of the 3rd round if you went wide receiver early, or wide receiver tight end if you're somebody who went with a Travis Kelce or a Mark Andrews on the Ravens. You can get a high volume running back in James Conner with very little in the way of competition. Now, you look what happened at the beginning of last season when I was on record saying, when you play James Conner, when you win, what do you win? And you didn't win much. Like, if you get 2 touchdowns out of him, you might just get like 20 fantasy points. It's not enough because he wasn't involved in the passing game. He was basically just a goal line back being used as Jerome Bettis later in his career. But then when Chase Edmonds disappeared, when he got injured, all of a sudden the role changed. And James Conner took on that role in the passing game and maintained all of his goal line carries, of which he was extremely efficient. Now, this is a very good offense in Arizona and should see a lot of trips to the red zone and inside the 10, inside the 5, where James Conner is going to get the lion's share of the work. And we know that those are the highest leverage touches that there are on a football field, but we also know that targets are worth way more than carries. So we want those inside the 5 carries. We're going to get those from James Conner. We want him to get the lion's share of the snaps and touches at running back. He's going to get those opportunities as well. Probably about 70% of those projected touches for Arizona. And they don't want to run Kyler Murray around the goal line like they did a couple of years ago. He's too prone to injury based on his size. Now, we've seen him get loose early in the seasons. Then as the seasons progress and he gets those injuries, gets a little dinged up, they tend to lean more on their running backs around the goal line. So that increased usage in the passing game gives him that floor every single week and access to a 30-plus point ceiling in full PPR. Underdog is half PPR, but still gives you a much better floor than no usage in the passing game. The price tag is not all that high, and I absolutely love James Conner as a value at running back as we sit here in July. He's been a value all season long, but some of the other values that were in this range, guys like Leonard Fournette and Saquon Barkley, they've all risen, but James Conner has just sat right here. So he's still a value while the others are more accurately priced at this point. Miles Sanders is my next value play. 77 is his price, the running back 26. You're drafting him as a running back 3. Obviously, he did not score touchdowns last year. And yeah, he had that video that said, just don't draft me in fantasy because they don't use me. But you know what? I'm going to take a chance on this guy because Jalen Hurts isn't going to score all the rushing touchdowns. And they're not going to take him out on the goal line for a smaller Kenny Gainwell or Boston Scott. Miles Sanders has to oops his way into more touchdowns and what should be a much more dynamic offense with the another year of experience for Jalen Hurts, adding a all-world wide receiving talent in A.J. Brown, another year for Devontae Smith, a very capable pass-catching tight end. Miles Sanders might be one of the running backs who runs against the most light boxes this season in the NFL, and you're getting him at an ADP of 77.7 on Underdog, and absurdly, an even lower ADP of 82 on DraftKings. I know it's only 5 picks, but still, that makes a difference, especially in full PPR with his chops in the passing game. So this is a great spot to buy in on Miles Sanders, as everybody else does not want to. You're drafting him as an RB3. If you're drafting a 0 RB type build, I love him as your RB2. If you went running back and chill, bell cow and chill, you drafted some guy in the first or second round, and then you're waiting around to get him somewhere around the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, depending on where he falls in your draft. Miles Sanders, definitely a value and can show you a profit on his current ADP this season based on his current role and the trajectory of that offense. Josh Jacobs is another player who I like here at ADP. The running back 22 off of boards, and there aren't that many guys at the back end of the RB2 list who are going to get RB1 type usage. Right now, I'm not saying that he's going to end the season as an RB1, but if you look at how many carries, you look at how many opportunities he gets, he's no slouch in the passing game with a very nice 69 targets coming his way through the air. Now, there's not much threat. Obviously, I like Zamir White, but I like Zamir White because of what he costs. I'm drafting him as like an RB6 in the last round of drafts, but I don't think he's going to usurp Josh Jacobs. And Kenyon Drake is obviously no threat to the workload that Jacobs gets. And based on the offense, again, adding a Devontae Adams, still has Waller, still has Hunter Renfrow on the outside, and is going to be in that AFC West where they're going to be in shootouts 6 times a year minimum. And when they're playing from ahead, it's going to be a heavy dose of Josh Jacobs. And when they're behind, they're not just yanking him off the field. He's seen a lot more targets, a little bit more consistently, 4, 9, 6, 4, 4, 5 to close last season. And he's going to get the inside the 5 work. He's going to get the 70% of the total snaps and opportunities there for Las Vegas. This is a great spot to pick him at an ADP of like 61. You're getting him at the beginning of the 5th round. The end of the 5th round, beginning of the 6th round. There's a lot of value here in these spots to go after somebody like Josh Jacobs when everybody else passes. Now, obviously, that's well within the running back dead zone, but that's going to be a video that we're going to do probably for next week, where I'm going to discuss the running back dead zone, what it is, what it has been, what the math tells us about it, and how things might be different this year because of the amount of volume and key volume, right? Inside the 5 touches, passing game touches for the running backs in that zone. Usually you don't want to draft running backs from middle of round 3 through end of round 6, but there's more candidates in that range this year that project to pay off on their ADP as opposed to previous years where those are guys that had 1 foot out the door. So you have to draft for the year that you're drafting. And in 2022, Josh Jacobs, to me, still is a screaming value on the board. Devin Singletary has been a value for me all offseason. Everybody has the specter of Cook that they drafted from Georgia, and he's a good back, but he's a good passing game back and is not going to take the majority of the 1st and 2nd down work. He's definitely not going to take the inside the 10 work, and Josh Allen is going to run in some touchdowns, right? But even with that, look at how Devin Singletary closed last season with touchdowns in every game in December and beyond. And into the playoffs, even against Kansas City. They're not all of a sudden going to move away from the thing that works in their offense to bring in a change of pace back to take away all of his snaps. Now, we saw what happened when Zach Moss was kind of retired, right? He was put into the dog. He wasn't retired. I don't mean to be mean to Zach Moss, but the Bills basically were not interested in finding him snaps and touches. And so they drafted Cook to give that offense a little bit more dynamicism, right? They've got a lot of guys that can play ball. Josh Allen at quarterback, Diggs on the outside with Gabe Davis, who had that tremendous game that everybody's drafting Gabe Davis this offseason. His ADP has also skyrocketed. They brought in Jamison Crowder. They brought back Isaiah McKenzie. They still got Knox. And Devin Singletary is going to be the running back that's on the field for a team that's going to play from ahead, play at home at least for 8-9 games this season. And you're going to get a lot of work out of him in arguably the best offense, if not one of the best offenses in the NFL. I'll take that every single day at an ADP of 103 on Underdog. I know that in best ball we overdraft rookies because everybody wants the upside guys. Rookie running backs tend to take jobs as the season goes along, but this is not an old running back in Devin Singletary who's going to cede snaps and touches because he can't hack it anymore physically. This is a young running back in his own right, in a great offense where they trust what he can do. They're not all of a sudden just going to move on from everything that Devin Singletary has and can do, and I love him for best ball. You see the games where he scored 20 to 30 fantasy points last season. There were multiple of them, and they came near the end of the season, which doesn't always carry over to the next year, but his role changed in a very positive way in terms of volume for him and for us as drafters of Devin Singletary. And I don't see that changing very much. He was not going to be the passing down back this season. They were going to bring in J.D. McKissic. They couldn't get him, so they drafted James Cook. So Devin Singletary is still going to be a very quality running back that you're drafting as like, right now, what is he? He's the running back 34 off the board. So you're drafting him as your RB3, possibly your RB4. Not very much risk at all, and tons of upside with touchdowns in that offense, specifically in best ball where you don't have to pick the weeks where you're going to start him. My last running back on the video is Mark Ingram, who has been a value, continues to be a value for a couple of reasons. One, Alvin Kamara has the possibility of a suspension looming. You're drafting Mark Ingram as your 5th or 6th running back, so there's very little price here. He is going to have a role even if Kamara is playing and healthy. But if Alvin Kamara gets a 6-game suspension to start this season, all of a sudden Mark Ingram steps into one of the higher volume jobs and one of the more fantasy friendly running back jobs that there is in the league, one that he is certainly capable of taking advantage of. His ADP has risen. So he's no longer somebody you're going to be drafting in the 20th round on DraftKings or the 18th round on Underdog. His ADP has now climbed to like the 180s, but he's still a value there if you do believe that Kamara is going to get suspended. Now, if you don't think Kamara is going to get suspended, and you believe also on top of that that Alvin Kamara is going to be healthy the entire season, then Mark Ingram, who is, in my opinion, a 30 to a 40% role running back at this point for the New Orleans Saints, has a chance to step into like a 75 to 80% role for a minimum of 6 weeks of this season. So right now, as an RB5, there is no better value on the board than Mark Ingram. Thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.